This video is sponsored by Klarna. All 10 teams have released their 2022 liveries. We've had 14 different liveries, so 4 extras to look at today. I'm going to be ranking them from worst to best. Not just my opinion, but fact, because that's the same thing, right? I'm joking. Look, in the comments below, play along, put your 14 in order. So let's not waste any time. Let's crack on with my least favourite livery we've seen on a 2022 Formula 1 car, the Alfa Romeo camo livery. They've done so much with these camos in the past. You had the Valentine's Day with a love heart. You had the dark kind of red. They were beautiful. This camo is just so dead. I get it, it's practical, it hides features, but it literally looks like one of those ugly camoed concept cars you'll see on the road every now and then. The camo they decided to use just has no grace. It's just like static on a TV screen. And combined with the shape of the car, which I don't think is the most elegant, not that that matters to performance, but a livery and the car body work together. For me, this is the biggest dud by a considerable margin. Good thing the real thing is a lot better, but we'll see where I put that later on. You thought I'd forgot, hadn't you? Who do you think I am? I'm not going to forget to redesign the final livery of the 2022 season, the Alfa Romeo. Not the camo one, the real one that's just been launched, by the way. So here it is, my redesign of the 2022 Alfa Romeo. Here it is. Okay, where should we start? So fundamentally, I started with this. I was like, right, let's just reverse the colors. Okay, I like the slash down the side. I like the fact that it's a simple livery with kind of base one color and then just a straight down the sides, right, to add a different color. So I've just flipped the colors around first and foremost. So side profile first. I have opened up this angle a bit. For me, it's a little bit too vertical on the real thing. I like it a bit more horizontal to give a bit more purpose and angle. Otherwise, the composition of the side profile is pretty much the same. We've still got the lovely Alfa Romeo kind of script text here with the little clover leaf, the All-En here. What I didn't like about the real car is that you have All-En red and you have Alfa Romeo red. They're two different shades. So by just whitening the logo out on this car, I think it's a more consistent look. And then the back, I've pretty much replicated the exact thing on the real car, just made the Alfa Romeo logo a little bit bigger and blacked it out as well. I think this looks fantastic, so I've kind of kept that. Rather than black that I've done in the past, I actually did put carbon print on here and I've just kept certain elements naked of the color. I think this works. And the red wraps back here and kind of around the back of the halo. And then we've kind of got this all white nose. I mean, you look at it from kind of this angle and it's not really red at all. We've been quite aggressive here. Again, it's full carbon and I've wrapped carbon around the nose as well to kind of make from a top angle the wing look like one kind of big element and the nose just kind of blends into it. I went with a red Alfa logo on the carbon. I know it's not the most legible thing in the world, but I just think it looks nicer. A bit of red on the front wing at the bottom. And the beauty with this All-En logo, where you've got the little kind of hawk face, is that you can reverse that or have that on either side and it still works really well. There we have it. That is my interpretation of the 2022 Alfa Romeo. Do I think it's better? I'd say composition wise, I think it's as good. I think it's just an alternative view, but of course we don't know yet where I've rated the real thing. You're gonna have to wait and watch the rest of the video to find out. If you shop online in the US or the UK, Klarna's free mobile app is an absolute no-brainer. Gives you more ways to pay, manage and track your orders, alongside price alerts, exclusive deals and reward points, all wrapped up in an app you can get installed in under a minute. Open it up and seamlessly navigate around over 250,000 merchants that are partnered with Klarna. From the official F1 Star and F1 Authentics to IKEA and Audi. There's absolutely loads. In my opinion, the biggest benefit with Klarna is their zero interest buy now, pay later options. Like when you're buying car insurance, it's very normal to have the choice between paying it all up front in one big chunk or spreading out those payments. Why can't that be the case when we're paying for other stuff? So Klarna gives you the option to spread payments over 4 interest-free installments. You don't have to pay a penny extra for that additional flexibility. Or what I use more often is their pay in 30-day option. So as long as you get your returns sorted within that period, you're only ever paying for the stuff that you're keeping. No more waiting on returns payments to process. Again, no brainer. If you're interested, click the link in the top line of the description or head to klarna.com/Tommo to install the Klarna app and join over 90 million active users and start shopping smarter with Klarna. P13, second last, is the Alpine. Look, I've looked at it on track, we've seen the renders, and I still don't like it. It almost looks like two liveries that have been put together. It hasn't played out, especially with the red as well. That really makes the blue and the pink struggle to work together. And even then, I think these shades of blue and pink don't work together that well. I think the blue would need to be a bit more pastel-y to kind of match. And you've also got the metallic blue, and it looks more matte, the pink, anyway. It was always going to be difficult to integrate the pink, and for me, it's nowhere near as nice as last year's, which makes this hurt even more. So P13, sorry Alpine. ALPINE is still on, it just won't be very pretty. P12 is a livery we might be seeing a lot of this year, but obviously the situation is changing all the time. I've gone with the blank HAAS livery with the Uralkali logos removed and the blue and red stripes removed from the side. Now it is literally just a base white car with red HAAS on the side and a couple of logos dotted around. Just like the Alfa Romeo, I think physically it's not the most elegant looking car, and when there's a livery that's so simple, it doesn't really distract from that and kind of sell it. But of course, this is a stopgap livery. Whether it will change or not as the season goes on, we will see, I guess. And ultimately, credit to HAAS for removing that branding and disassociating themselves as quickly as possible. We'll see what happens, but on purely aesthetic merit, I don't dislike it. This is just, it's a white car. On to P11, a car that we haven't seen on track yet, but in Bahrain, I don't know if we'll see it at testing, but we'll definitely see it at Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, the first two races of the season, and that is the pink Alpine. I thought this car looked great on the show car, the launch that they did in Paris. It looks better than the normal Alpine. At first, I was quite sold on this, but as we've seen other cars in real life, they've kind of moved up this list. We've not seen it on the real car, and given my thoughts on the real car, P11 is where I see it now. Because this is what you got to remember. When I did my livery redesigns, a lot of these cars, we'd only seen renders of them. We hadn't seen them on the real cars. And this has changed my rankings quite significantly. On to P10, and a car that, was I fair putting this in the list? Maybe not, but it's the McLaren Shadow livery, a livery we'll never see on the actual McLaren car, but we will see on, I imagine, the F1 esports game. And when they launched the McLaren livery, they did launch this livery as well on a full-size replica of the car. It's taken off a lot of the blue. There's a lot more black on the car, and the balance between the blue and the orange, I think there's too little blue on this now. I know in my redesign I dialed down the blue a bit, but I think they've taken too much off. He's got some weird triangle things on the side profile as well, which I don't really understand. Look, it's cool. Maybe on the actual real car it would look even better, but from what I've seen compared to everything else, for me, P10's fair. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay. Now for P9, and the first livery on this list that I know will annoy some people, but I can only call it as I see it. And for me, P9 is the Mercedes. Yes, the quickest car over testing, with Lewis and George putting the top 2 times on the C5 tyres. Winners of the Constructors' title for every single season of the turbo hybrid era up until now. And the car has been great in the past, but for me, this has all of the elements of recent Mercedes that I don't like as much. You haven't got the glowing turquoise along the side like you did in 2019. You know I love 2019. The body is solid silver, which again, I prefer either the black or having silver gradient into black. The Mercedes triangles on the side are a bit clunky. I've never really liked the Ineos on the top. And on the rear wing, there's so much Ineos red on the underside of that rear wing. It just looks weird to me. And for me, the shape of the car, it just looks weird. The proportions just look strange from a side-on profile compared to a lot of the other cars. Does it matter in practice? No, but this is what I'm ranking, how these cars look. And for me, this Mercedes, the only angle where I like it, and I really do like it, is bang front on. Any angle other than that, Then to P8, a livery that we're very unlikely to see now going forward. It's the original HAAS. This was a livery that when the renders came out, I was not blown away at all. But when they put that livery on the real car, the HAAS logo on the side was much bigger proportionally. Those lines were a bit bigger, so they fitted the car better. And seeing this real HAAS model with the hits of the red and the blue, purely aesthetically, I actually thought this looked really good on track. We've got a lot of dark liveries on the grid, so this being bright white with the bright blue and the bright red would have stood out a lot as well. Of course, it's the right decision to strip these elements off and dial the car back a bit, but in terms of that livery, that original livery, I thought it looked really nice. Okay, top half time, and in P7 is a car that I've really wanted to like more. When we saw the renders, it looked okay. When we saw it in real life on track, though, it didn't really improve in my estimation. And it's the McLaren. The colour palette of the McLaren, the dark grey / black, the orange, the bright light blue now, kind of duck egg blue. So good. It's an amazing colour palette, but the execution for me is a bit fiddly. I'm not in love with the way it's been executed. The physical shape of the body is actually pretty good on the McLaren. I think it's a good, well-proportioned car. The livery for me just doesn't quite tick my boxes. But I'm hopeful that they will stick with this colour palette now going forward, because they've rolled that colour palette out across all of their Extreme E, IndyCar and all that, which I think is a sign that McLaren are bedding that colour palette in now for years to come. And I'm confident that future years, they'll get it right, at least as far as I'm concerned. In P6, we have actually the biggest faller down, I believe, of any of these liveries compared to the launch, the renders that were put out. I've gone with the Red Bull, which initially I was rating higher than the Aston Martin. But you know what? With the Red Bull put on the actual car, it's not blowing me away as much as I want it to. I don't think it looks as good as the car did in 2021 or 2020 or 2019 even. Adrian Newey has pushed the boat out in terms of the physical design of this car. These side pods are a madness. And it's more that, it's more the physical shape of the body is more on the awkward, clunky side towards like the Mercedes than it is on the aesthetically, well proportioned, which again, maybe this will make a quick car. But now we've seen this livery on this car model, I'm not as happy with what I'm looking at as I am than 5 other liveries on the grid. That's just the way I see it, which, I love the Red Bull livery historically, and I think the livery composition itself is great. It's just the car looks a bit clunky. Top 5 time, and the 5th place livery on this ranking is a car that I didn't like the launch renders of, really. It was the definition of I think I called it. But on the real car, much better, and it's leapfrogged the Red Bull. It's the Williams. Yes, the Williams, which looking at initially, again, those launch renders didn't do it justice. Seeing that bright blue, that contrast of the bright blue to the kind of navy base on the real car, the actual diamonds on the side, and the fact the physical shape of that Williams looks stunning. I think it's one of the best looking physical car models. Take the livery away, it looks so good, very retro, and the livery does a good job. Even the red hints, I didn't really like it initially, but looking at it now, I'm just like, actually, yeah, that kind of works. I still think the rationale is a bit weird. British red, okay, lots of flags have red in them, but whatever. But actually, the composition, it all works together, and with Alex Albon sitting in that car, it's just a wonderful thing. I had to get a mention of him in the video, didn't I? Come on now. I've had a whole season where I couldn't talk about him, so give me this, please. On to P4, and another livery that I was pretty underwhelmed with when we saw the initial renders. I loved it from a side-on profile, but everywhere else I was a bit But on the real car, and the real lighting, the 2022 Alfa Tauri is lovely. There's something about that long kind of straight nose that just works really well. The proportions of the car look great. The real car has a much darker navy than we saw in the renders. The renders, the navy was a little bit washed out, and I didn't like that. But when you see the contrast between the white and the really, really dark, that just makes this one pop. I love it. It looks great. The AlphaTauri over recent years is kind of, I thought it's been okay some years, not so good other years, but this one might be my favourite actually of any of the AlphaTauris we've seen so far. And now onto the podium. There's 3 teams left. I think these are the 3 cars that have gone down the best of all the cars in terms of the car livery department. And for me, and between 2 and 3 was actually very tricky. I've gone with the Aston Martin. These top 3 liveries are clear of the rest, and the Aston Martin looks fantastic. The green with the lime, it's such a nice balance on the car. They added a bit more lime in terms of the hint colours, because in previous year, obviously last year, they had the pink, but they only really had the kind of sweet, and it was a bit clunky. But this Aston Martin looks fantastic from a livery point of view. But even more so than that, I think the physical shape and body of the Aston Martin, I think because the side pods are so wide, it makes the car look very kind of, makes it look quite short and agile and like a Hot Wheels car. I think the Aston Martin looks so sick, even though it's got quite a high nose. I don't know, it just looks, the proportions of it just look amazing, and the cheese graters on the side just look really retro. It's a wonderful looking piece of machinery, but there are 2 more that I slightly prefer, but not by much. So here we go. Of the remaining one Swiss and one Italian team left on the grid, who have I put first and second? In P2, it's the Alfa Romeo. Late launch, the last launch after testing, but we have seen video of the car on track now. We've seen renders, we've seen quality video, social content that looks top notch from Alfa Romeo. There wasn't a lot of hype behind the Alfa Romeo launch. Like, the most hyped one was the HAAS, really, because it was the first. But I tell you what, they've taken that beautiful color palette of that slightly kind of deeper and slightly more kind of pinky red than we see on the Ferrari, with the white, with the hits of black, and they've just made something super nice. I said this when I did my live stream watching it. It is a super basic livery when you look at the kind of fundamental elements. It's a red car with the kind of white cross-section bit on it, and then a little bit of white on the nose, black front and rear wing, Alfa Romeo with the Italian flag on the back, which is a lovely touch. So what? It looks fantastic. It looks great. I think it is missing a logo on the side, kind of left of the Orlan on the red bit. That bit seems a bit empty, but that's me pulling airs. Like, it is a fantastic looking car, even with a little, someone in my live stream mentioned it, little kind of white nail polish nose. Even that looks really cool. The all carboned out front wing looks fantastic. Alfa Romeo once again smashed it out of the park. Last year's Alfa Romeo was my favorite livery of 2021, and this year's is number 2. So technically twice as worse, I guess, but that sounds harsh. And again, my redesign, I thought mine was pretty good. But yes, of course, in P1, the dream collaboration of beautiful body design and lovely, simple liveries don't need to be complicated to be amazing. It's, of course, the Ferrari, all black front wing, all black rear wing, red body, nicer logo placement than in previous years because they're not under the thumb of Philip Morris anymore. From the front, it looks like an early 90s Formula One car, which is a huge tick in my box because for me, that aesthetically is the best generation of F1 cars ever. From a side profile, everything looks nice and balanced. You've got these beautiful undulating side pods, which just so good. All black rear wing, really nice shade of red on the Ferrari this year as well. They haven't gone for the maroon, which they've kind of fiddled with last couple of years, and I haven't really liked that much. It's just a wonderful thing. I love what Ferrari have done. They've made a great looking car. And also, it seems like a pretty quick car. For me, they were the best team to come out of testing in terms of impressiveness to me anyway. Over 200 laps for both drivers, 439 laps I think in total for the entire team, which was more than anyone else. Ferrari are looking in a very, very good place, not just performance wise, but looking good. So that's my thoughting. Let me know your thoughting in the comments down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you're new and you want to see more. Also, thank you to Klarna for sponsoring this video. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.